Village, all 233 acres, was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Housing purchases and restorations increased every year, and property values rose. By the 1980s, German Village was one of the most desirable places in central Ohio to live. A $1 million fundraising campaign in 1990 led to the purchase and restoration of the German Village Meeting House, along with dozens of improvements to Schiller Park, including an amphitheater where Shakespeare is performed each summer, a new playground, improved lake, and the restoration of the 100-year-old Schiller statue. In addition, public and private donations have provided for street lamps in and around the park, benches and waste receptacles, perennial gardens, and the Umbrella Girl statue. Today, the German Village Society is more than 1,000 members strong. Guided by an elected board of trustees, they work to preserve and beautify our neighborhood and to educate young and old on the importance of historic preservation. Our German Village community is recognized for its strong volunteer force. In fact, volunteers staff the visitor center, lead neighborhood tours, produce special events, and rally for cleanup and preservation efforts. They maintain the gardens in Schiller Park and the more recently established Wright Fetch Park on Bexar. And for their efforts, German villagers have been recognized far and wide for this historic preservation success story. The White House has honored the neighborhood as a Preserve America community. The American Planning Association named it one of the country's 10 great neighborhoods. We're one of the New York Times' top real estate markets for pedestrian-friendly urban neighborhoods, and we've been featured in countless newspaper, magazine, and TV stories. In many respects, German Village looks much as it did 100 years ago, with commercial properties tucked in among the tightly spaced houses. Some of the most celebrated restaurants in central Ohio are right here, along with one of the largest independent bookstores in the country and dozens of shops and galleries offering gifts and works of art you aren't likely to find anywhere else. On the last Sunday of every June, just as it has done since 1960, German Village shows off its accomplishments during the Society-sponsored House and Garden Tour. Thousands of guests view selected homes, enjoy dinner parties hosted by residents, and join in the celebration of this urban success story. Today, the German Village Society is proud to serve as caretakers of a legacy dedicated to retaining the character and distinction of the past while creating a thriving contemporary community. I'm Kristen Hartman. Thank you for watching, and thank you for visiting German Village. Hope you enjoyed your stay, and hope you'll come again soon, perhaps for the next House and Garden Tour.
Which is next weekend. We're all getting ready, so you hit the peak of people putting flowers in, it's just gonna look good. All right, let's go outside.
Have a great tour.
Thank you.
I'll be here when you get back.
Oh, awesome. Will you take a picture for us when we get back?
I'll try.
Okay, thanks. So everybody says yes for the picture. I'd like to put our tours on the website. Come on out. Just go there in the middle.
I love the
anywhere.
cobblestone.
Isn't it great?
I've never driven on a cobblestone street
you can see
before.
the scooters on the cobblestone streets. It's really adorable. All right, so who's been here before? Anybody?
I've never been to
That is
Columbus.
so. Oh, that's exciting. This is the best part. Anybody planning lunch in the village?
We were gonna try Schmitz.
Schmitz?
We've heard that's awesome.
There's only a couple things people from outside who've never been here know about this village. One is Schiller Park, and the other one is Schmitz. If you live here, you have to learn to give instructions to Schmitz, and it's kind of in the middle and hard to find. So, does anybody have any walking restrictions? Okay, so I'm going to walk you for about an hour. It depends on what you want to do once we get out there.
I need the exercise
Do you?
anyway.
Okay. We can go as far as the park. That's a long tour. That'll take us about an hour and a half. But we can sort of skirt the edge of the park, and I can show you where Schmitz is, the old Mohawk. Most restaurants that are open today will walk past. Since
Go
you've
ahead
never
and
been
stick
here,
'em.
if any given point in time you want to peel off because you're hungry, you're going to have to ask directions to get back. Because everything looks the same once you get inside. I've been here 3 years, and it took me a year to not want to graph paper the whole neighborhood because I didn't understand.
Can she stick this in our car real fast?
Yeah, go ahead. We're going to go that way to get out.
Okay.
All right,
we're
let's
going
go
past
stand
the
in front
car
of the
then.
I don't mind being videotaped. Just occasionally remind me to put my chin up. So all right, this is our meeting house. I mentioned in the video the $1 million remodel we did in 1990 something, which these days is a long time ago. Like if you remodeled the kitchen in 1992, you kind of want to do it again now. So we're thinking about doing another capital campaign. This used to be a sign making store, and those windows are where the truck went in to pick up the signs and come back out. So that's the visitor center, but the rest of the meeting house is off to another direction, so it's really hard for a visitor to take advantage. There's an art collection in Fest Hall on the second floor that I highly recommend you look at before you leave, local artists. It's really great. You just wouldn't know it was there unless somebody told you. All right, so we're gonna proceed. I'm a neighbor, just a neighbor. I've lived here for 3 years. I'm gonna focus this tour on architecture, a little bit of history. We'll probably see neighbors along the way, and they'll probably want to talk or be proud of their flowers. I've been invited into houses before on a tour, so you never know what might happen. All right, any questions before we head out? All right, if I'm not talking loud enough, let me know. I'm trying to learn to walk backwards. I'm not very good at it, so I'm gonna turn around. Be careful, don't trip. We're gonna go down a couple of streets that you really should watch your feet.
God, I love the cobblestone look. So pretty. Old timey.
So did I hear correctly? Did you purchase this house here?
That one there.
Wow.
People
there,
telling
okay.
stories on me. All right?
That is
I'll stop
gorgeous.
and give you some history of my house, since I know it. All right, right here. This is G. Michael's Bistro across the street, but it hasn't always been G. Michael's Bistro. Everything has a story. If you look to the 1.5 story to the left of it, that used to be the stable. G. Michael's is where you got your shoe. So if you go in there to eat, it's now Louisiana French Bistro, and Michael's is across the street from me. If you look on the walls inside the main building, you still see the rings where they used to tie up the horses. Because we don't like to take historic stuff down. Right, so that's an excellent restaurant. They're open for dinner, not open for lunch today. This is our lovely Seattle cottage. We don't know where it came from. It doesn't really fit in with the rest. But they do have
That is beautiful. Look at that.
It's very exciting. We'll loop around. I'll show you where I'm moving. So this stand, don't go under the tree because it's sagging right now. I'm going to replace it with something else because as an insurance person, that is not good to have that tree by the house. All right, so this was built in 1870. In about 1895, Dr. Merwood Dixon opened it, and this became his doctor's office. So about 10 years later, he added this bump out to the front, and this is where the patients waited to see Dr. Dixon. That's why there's a door. But this door to nowhere, see there's no stairs, is our first lesson in the German Village Commission. As you know, this is on the historic registry. As a consequence, there's a city commission that approves all exterior work. You can't do anything like this was grass. I don't own a lawnmower, so it's not grass anymore. I'm gonna have to put in one of those doo-doo bag things though, because everybody likes to poop in it. These needed clips. I didn't need approval for that, but anything else that you need approval for. So they will not let you remove the door. You just don't remove the door. You're allowed to remove the stairs if the door goes nowhere. So on the other side of that door is trash, and you'd never know there was a door. But if you look way up, the transom is still there, and so the transom gives light up to the tree. So it was built this was built in 1870. So you're not going to see another house in the village with these decorative elements on the side. They're called frames. We don't know why we put them there. They're not structural. They are now because it would fall down if we took them out. We think it was just he was a fancy guy. So most of the wrought iron is not original. This is not original, but it's been there since probably 1900. One thing you'll notice walking around the village, and I'll show you here. Oh look, my husband moved that's the hose. I hadn't said. This is masonry. You see on this side, and you know that because you see lines of bricks running every 8 or 10 rows. I'll call them brick butts, the little ends of bricks. That means it's a two-dimensional masonry wall. That there's 2 levels of bricks tied together by those bricks on their sides. You'll see a lot of that in the village, but then sometimes, if you look at the short building over here, that's and that could mean that there's a masonry room in there. Or it could mean there's a wood. And you would know unless you open the wall, which I wouldn't recommend. Okay. So you see a lot of things are wrought iron. Most of which is original, some of which is. I only know a bit about what is, but I'll let you know. So, as an example, I of course are not original. Somebody implemented it. This is the way they did tie up. And that's been there for 170 years. I'll point out something about the curbs at this point, because this is obviously not an original curb. This is cement. This is. And as we move through the village, you'll find all kinds of not original curb where the brick is beginning to fall into the street. This is sandstone, limestone. You might have to Google that. That piece of stone is buried 5 feet into the earth. So it's a piece of stone about 5 feet wide and 5 feet deep. That's how this brick has been here for 170 years, so it doesn't fall into the street. Now, when people repetitively run over these curbs and the top deteriorates, the brick starts falling into the street, and the city's forced to do this because you're not going to go find another 5x5 slate of stone. So when we have it, we love it, and we take good care of it. Most people, this is yard, okay? If y'all live out in the suburbs of Cincinnati, Cleveland, you have yard. This is
Yeah.
yard for us. And then so you work really hard to make it. Most people who live here either bought way back when for a really low price, or they bought more recently and they worked really hard and long hours to be able to pay for it, so they end up with somebody else planting the flowers. We'll probably see a few trucks because today is the day. Today's the last Saturday before House and Garden. Everybody's going to be. All right, so while we're here, this house, first of all, it's the first time we're going to see a door on the corner. Any notion of why there's a door on the corner? It means it was a commercial establishment. You could put your sign up and it could be seen from more locations. More often it means it was a saloon because that is something you definitely want to see from all locations. This is a fun house because it's on a triangular lot. So if you went to the back, you'll see this is not a box. It's cut in the back so that it fits onto this lot. And I can only imagine the furniture you have to have. Behind you, behind this cool wall, and the street seems safe right now, is a whole series of structures. Originally, all it was a little yellow house over here, known as the broom factory. So this is where they made brooms, in the little yellow house. Slowly over time, all the rest of this has been added on. They rescue dogs, and they're just a beautiful.
So that's one whole house.
That's one whole house, cobbled together. I'll show you lots of them. Watch your step. And we're on Beck Street, and we're going to come to a restaurant that's been on the top 10 list of Columbus ever since it was built in the 80s. And it's a building of the storied past with shootings and saloons and all kinds of fun things. Well, also, as we pass by, you'll see all kinds of signs, all kinds of different signs. It's totally okay to go up and look at them because that's why they're there. They're part of the history. We'll see signs that tell stories. We'll see signs that are awards. This is Caretakers of a Legacy, meaning in 2009, these people were recognized from taking what was probably a dump and turning it back into something that was true to itself in its original time. So that happened in 2009 for, I think, is it still 2? Let's back up and see. No, it is 1, because there's only 1 door. So this has been connected. It was originally probably a very, well, this probably, I went in this House and Garden tour. This was downstairs. This was the hallway to go up to the upstairs. Make sense?
Yeah.
Is that masonry? Is that walls too thick? No, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
That little piece down here looks like it is. But the rest of it doesn't.
Yeah.
All right. That's not bad. Most of the time what that means is probably happened. This is a new place. When somebody combined it to one, they had different facades of masonry, so they covered it with a layer of veneer. And to us, veneer is not a little piece of thin brick, it's a full brick. And so they just put another layer of brick over all of it to make it match. We'll see some that don't match, and we'll
Yeah.
see what that looks like.
Look at those steps. Look at these steps.
Really treasure. Well, this is our first, I can tell you about how you can tell this example. It's not the best, but we'll see some good photos. This was 2 houses. That little strip of wood shows you that they've been connected. It's now 1. You're required when you try to connect 2 cottages around here to keep the original facade. Make it clear what the 2 houses used to look like, and then you can connect them. So more often you'll see the connection is set back from the front, and we'll see a lot of those.
Is there a lot of paperwork you have to go through the cities to make a
Yes. I had a question about that very different. village has been here since 1850s. It's probably the oldest thing that's around right now. And all the materials are local. The bricks, there were 13 different bricklayers on the south side. That's where you got that. The mortar is lime-based mortar that we got sand out of the river right over here. They made mortar and put the bricks and mortar together. Makes it beautiful because they're equally porous because they're from the same neighborhood. And bricks are porous. They breathe in, they breathe out, but so does the mortar, and everything's good, right? You can't trap radon in these houses as an example because it just breathes this way out. The slate was as local as we could find it. It's Pennsylvania ribbon slate. And Pennsylvania's not that far from here. Now, it's called ribbon slate because of all those cool colors that you see in it. Those cool colors also made it cheaper because it's not as, it flakes more easily than like a Vermont black slate. And if you've seen a lot of slate, my house has Vermont black slate because some really rich doctor lived in it and had it imported from Vermont on a train because that was the only way you could get it here back then. But Pennsylvania ribbon slate cost substantially less. It was right down the street in Pennsylvania. It's a 100-year
I didn't see that.
But the houses were built in the 1850s and 1900s. The roofs are way past their useful life. But there are, in 1980, a group of kids in a class at Ohio State had to build a business for their class, so they built this slate repair business because there wasn't one, right? And this thing was really kicking in. It's still here. It's called Durable Slate. Every other slate company has spawned off of those guys. They're still working it, and they work all over this village because if you just have 10 or 12 of them repaired, what happens is the slates are nailed in with iron nails. The iron nails deteriorate before the slate, and the slate starts to fall. As soon as it falls, you've got this sheet of slate on your ground, crumbled up, and you have to call it Durable Slate. Anyway, it's hard. That roof on that little house, to replace it in its entirety would be over $100,000. So what happens is that when you can't afford it, you file a hardship case, and they let you make it look like something. Which is the only way we can keep these houses going because nobody can afford it.
Yeah.
I mean, some people can, but you really don't want to put that in your roof, even if you can. So, but it's okay. They work really hard to make it look the best they can. All right.
I know some of these bricks are loose.
Now that was the worst sidewalk I could do. But we don't like to cut our trees out.
Oh, look at that pretty front door.
Stories and a map, so you can go read those stories yourself. And you don't have you don't have to pay somebody like me to tour you. All go straight to the German Village Society for Historic Preservation. You can walk around and read yourself. This tells you about Lindy's. It was a pub. People were shot. It was a meat house for a while, and then the place across the street became a meat house, and this became a restaurant. So it all just sort of commingled. But this has been. This is now one of the best restaurants in Columbus. At lunch, if you want to find a senator, you want to find a congressperson, you'll find them in here, like trying to lobby people up at Lindy's. And everybody wears a tie, and it's really fancy. But it's also got, I'm going to say, the second best patio in Columbus, because I think the best one is Barcelona. It's the toppest place across town that we may walk close to. But it's got, I'll just take this right there. Salvaged as much as they could from the stuff that was leveled off that way. These doors are an example of that salvage. These doors and these lights were on a bank that got leveled. Can you imagine what the rest of the building looked like? But they saved these doors and those lights, and I've never, ever seen one of those lights burned out. This is an important feature of the village, and it speaks to historic preservation and people who work hard. We're going to come back by the patio because I don't want to see that truck. You can hear them coming.
Let's hear 3 years how long have you been coming? This is Mohawk Street. See the yellow line?
You know what that is? This is where the trolley is. We'll come back and I'll tell you more about the trolley. You ever caught air
I don't mind living in a little cute village like this.
All right, now we're going to do a little bit big, beautiful homes. One of them has been here for almost 200 years, and the other one has been here for about 20. Tell me which one is it. You can guess. The one on the left? What makes you say that? And you're right.
Yeah, above the doors.
Yeah, those the old lintels.
Yeah.
That's sandstone. This one doesn't have. This one has them, but they don't look the same. Yeah. So I'll tell you a couple of things. One, almost every window in this village is the same size from the original day. I think it's because somebody was making windows, and everybody's windows are the size of this house. These windows are taller. See how big that transom is in the top? And no one had pillars. I mean, you just didn't do pillars back then. And those pillars, I think, are cement. Now the lintels that are flat and smooth over here, that's more like what you're going to see around the village. That with the shape in it means there was money in the house. Because you could buy that all day long and stick it above your window. But somebody had money way back when they built the house. And generally, see how high the foundation goes? That's not original sandstone foundation. You can tell that if you knew stone, you just know it's not. So you know by the nature of the stone. But it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And they worked very hard with the commission to build it, put the little gas light in, and move on. And it's gorgeous. But it wouldn't have happened back then. Okay.
For new construction like that, is the gas light mandatory or just a cosmetic upgrade?
I have one on my new house. I went over there yesterday to bring some stuff, and it was out. I was like, I'm freaking out. The gas. What am I supposed to do? But there's also, I checked the gas fireplace inside, and the pilot light was on, so I knew I had gas. I had to have my fellow gardenia, one of the trucks you'll see that does gardeners, was out front, and I said, hey, Sean, you don't have to buy the gas light. He came in, because it has no mantle, right? You know, if you buy a Coleman lantern, there's the mantle you have to replace? No, it's just gas, right? So he came in, he lit a piece of paper with his lighter, because you don't want to put your fingers and your butane in there. He knew there's a name for that piece of paper. He twisted it up, he lit the end of the paper, and he stuck it in there. And it didn't even go poof. I was like, yard. Thank you. This is, and when somebody can see your yard, it's part of who you are. Stop right here. See these two cottages? See that glass set back in the middle? This is one. Okay? Because one of these cottages is probably 900 square feet. When you combine them, you get 1,800 square feet. Does the average American live in 1,800 square feet? No, more than that, right?
Yeah.
Let's go look at the side.
This is interesting. See, this is why I like this kind of stuff. Like the way people used to live.
By day, I don't need that. Whole street was blocked out. Can't go around.
You having fun?
I know. Anybody live with an alley? Have you ever had an alley? I grew up with an alley. It's so awesome. See how there's been this addition? But it's been made to look like it's contiguous? This is the rest. So this house, way more. This house is, I'm gonna guess 3,000 square feet. You think it'd be bigger than that, but it's compartmentalized, right? And that is your mom.
Oh, how convenient.
It's not connected.
So
Everybody
everybody needs a little privacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
They built this new,
Yes.
probably to connect.
This was,
just
and
to-
now they have 0 yard, right?
Yeah.
Zero. But they have a garage.
But
So
with
many-
parking on the street,
Yeah.
that's what we said last night.
So
I'd
many
rather
people,
have
like,
a
see how they
garage.
built this little platform? Because nobody has a garage. I mean, a garage adds tremendous value to your house.
I bet.
So that she built on a double. Okay. Masonry or veneer? Veneer. Isn't it great that you will always have that
Yeah,
useless piece of knowledge?
always.
Masonry or veneer? Masonry, yeah. We're gonna go back. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, so way back before the commission, it was cool to paint your brick. Oh. Yeah, I know. Breaks my heart. But have you ever tried to get it off? You have to be happy with some sort of white, sort of brick home. So they just keep layering it on, and you can tell. I'm sure there's some lead in there somewhere.
Pretty soon you won't be able to see the outline of the brick.
Yep. Now see this cute little cottage with this little addition? Can you see the swimming pool in the backyard?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a few swimming pools.
Oh my goodness.
There's a guy who lived inside who was very, very sick. And all he wanted to do was swimming pool. And the people that loved him built his swimming pool. He swam in there once a week.
How long did it take him for approval for that? Our backyard's kind of your own. Oh, before.
Original restoration. So we went on the National Register in the 70s, so that's when we did. It's a really adorable little park. Come here. But we're gonna see the cute little cottage. You see the two little stars in there? Do you know
Oh,
what
those are to cover the metal.
Yeah, the rebar. Right under the house. Just over the house. But that's only 1.5 story cottage. You wouldn't think it would be.
Yeah.
You can never unsee it. But because they didn't think it needed those, but it did. Then they put them in the house, totally stable.
Yeah.
But you can't undo that,
Yeah.
and you can't unsee it. I'm sorry. But it happens.
Adds to the character.
Yeah, and if you run around looking, you see it quite a bit.
So what about this house here?
Now it's a big 1.5 story. See how tall it is? So they put that rebar in to protect it. Now the problem is that the second one can't be rebar. It'd be running right through the living room.
I know,
Right? I
that's
think
what I was
it's
thinking.
decorative.
Okay.
Masonry or veneer?
Yeah.
This is my favorite block in the village, and I don't live on it. These people, every time it's going to be a gorgeous day, there's this big ceramic float. I don't know why it's not there today. And so my husband and I walk by and go, it's goat day. We spend more time outside. So can you tell me what you think this is? Yes, that's for the lady, exactly. We came up here and we handed each other. Yep. There's only a few of those left.
Ooh. Look at this pretty house.
Actually hired my we're gonna cross the street on this house from the other side. And then here's the shame. Most people who come to German Village never come down the street. If they do, it's to go to Lindy's. Then they stop. They never come here. This is gorgeous. And this is Frank Fetch Park. This is the video. Yeah, this park was created to replicate a German plaza. Like a beer garden. So you know how Washington does its lighting. This is our lighting ceremony for our Christmas tree. This is for puppies. The fountain has mesh on it, so it's not for puppies. But you should swim in it. But this is trying to be a beer garden, right? An Oktoberfest sort of place. You see weddings in here all the time. You see wedding pictures in here all the time. There should be more people in here. I think it's because everybody's off getting ready for House of Buttons. There's a beehive back over there. And see how all these the doggy water spots are set up? There's doggy bags back there. Because this is a great place to walk your dog through. You gotta check it out. And if they're thirsty, please don't let them be in the fountain. But it's just an awesome place. We love it. And then there's a group, their name, that maintains the park, all volunteers. What they do is once a year have a flower sale in May, and all the proceeds of that sale go to the annual Level 6 park. And so you'll see them because they'll swoop in here and whoosh. They'll probably be in here tomorrow to cut the grass out from the bricks for House and Garden. Okay, see all those peaks back there? See all that? They all have different roofing material, right? That one's got slate. This one's got, I don't know, metal. Those have asphalt shingles, right? Let's go look around this side.